Okay, so once again, you are going to be doing word problems with division today. It's called real world problems. You could also call it division problem solving. That's the name of the assignment. In Big Ideas Math, it's division problem solving. Okay, so I'm about to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you what some of the problems look like. Oh, wait, present. Okay. Okay. So number one here, I'm going to read number one, and that's one of the ones that we're going to do. It says a woodworker spends a total of 162 hours making 24 birdhouses. He spends the same amount of time on each birdhouse. How many hours does he spend on each birdhouse? So that's pretty simple, okay? What that means is if he spends 162 hours total, and then he makes 24 birdhouses, they're saying how many hours does he spend on one birdhouse? So that means that we're definitely going to have to divide. Let me stop presenting so that you can watch me solve this problem, okay? I've already set it up here. We have 162 hours, and we made 24 birdhouses, okay? So simple stuff here, guys. DMSB, obviously. And I'm going to draw my lines. Now, before I continue, I want somebody to unmute yourself, and I want you to tell me how many times do you think I'm going to do DMSB in this problem? Is it going to be 1, 2, or 3 times? How many times do you think I'm going to do it?
2.
2. Twice.
2.
Okay, a couple people say 2. Okay.
No, once.
It is just once. You're only going to do it once. And here's why. Look, 24 cannot go into 1. Put an X. Oops. Whenever we try 16, 24 cannot go into 16. It's still too small. So we're going to put an X there. So whatever 162 divided by 24 is, the answer is going to be a 1-digit number. By the way, you should be writing this down with me. This is number 1 on your assignment today. Okay? So once again, we are dividing. 24 cannot go into 1. 24 cannot go into 16. So we need to try 24 into 162. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a starting point. Okay? We're going to do that by we're going to do that by estimating and then rounding. Okay? So estimating. 24 is very close to 20. So I'm changing these numbers to these numbers because these numbers are easy for me. Remember, we spent like a whole week doing very easy math with numbers like 20. Anything that has a 0 at the end to help us out. So unmute yourself and tell me what number could I use for 162 that has a 0 at the end? What number is it close to that will help me out with 20?
160.
160 is great. We could do 200, but let's try and narrow it down. And you guys did a great job. You said 160. So I'm going to make it 160. Okay. So this is not technically part of my problem. This is just me using my brain and estimating, helping me make my job easier. I'm just finding a good starting point because I don't want to do 24 times 1, 24 times 2, 24 times 3, 24 times 4. I just want to find a good starting point so I don't have to do all that. Okay. So I need to figure out how many times does 20 go into 160. Then I will know how many times this number, which is close to 20, can go into this number, which is close to 160. Okay? So if I cover my zeros, let me cover my zeros. Now all I have is 2 and 16. How many times can 2 go into 16? Anybody?
Mr. Dottie, can I tell you the answer?
Yes.
The answer is 6 with the.
Oh wait, not the answer to the entire problem.
8.
8. 2 can go into 16 8 times. So 20 can go into 160 exactly 8 times. In fact, if we did that, 160 divided by 20, we'd get 8. So if 20 can go into 8, if 20 can go into 160 8 times, then 24, which is close to 20, can go into 162, which is close to 160, probably about 8 times. So 8 is a good starting point. Let's try that. It might be too little. It might be too big. We're just going to do trial and error. Usually whenever I estimate, though, it's usually spot on. So we'll see. We're going to try 24 times 8. So whenever you get a problem like this, where you're only going to do DMSB once and you have 2 digits here and 3 digits here. This is technically called a dividing by multiplying problem. Because if you think about it, all we're doing is multiplying in this problem to figure out what our answer is. Okay? So let's figure it out. 8 times 4. Somebody tell me, what's 8 times 4?
32.
8 times 4 is 32. Very good. So I'm going to bring down my 2 in my 1's place, carry my 3 in my 10's place. Okay? Let me box this problem off. Okay. All right. Next, 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 plus 3 is 19. Okay. So 192 is too much. Now, if you think about it, when we turn 24 into 20 and 162 into 160, we technically underestimated because we rounded down both times. You remember that? Under and overestimating. So we left off a whole 4 and a whole 2. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay. So that technically means that we left off about eight numbers. So 8 is too many 24s. That's okay. I'm going to start over again, and I'm going to try 7 24s. 8 was still a very good starting point. Okay, so let's try 7. Let's see. 7 times 4 is 28. Carry my 2. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 2. 14 plus 2 is 16. Uh-oh, guys. Look at that. We still have 168. That's still too many. Okay? Let me check my math just to make sure. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 2 is 16. Okay. So that even though it's not over by much, it's still over. We need to figure out how many times can 24 go into 162, not so much evenly, but without going over. So, yep, 7 is too much, so I am going to try 6 this time. I'm going to erase everything but the 24 in my time symbol. Okay. So let's try 6. All right, 6 times 4 is 24. Carry my 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. So that works. It's not pretty, but it works now. Okay. When I say it's not pretty, that means it doesn't fit evenly in there. But 8 was too many. 7 was too many. Okay. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes you got to go back a few steps. So 24 can only go in there 6 times without going over. Again, 24 can go into 162 only 6 times without going over. Okay. Now, all that was for the D part of DMSB divide. Now it's time to multiply. 24 times 6. I just did that. My answer is 144. Look how I write it. I'm going to put my 4 in my 1's place, 4 in the 10's place, 1 in the 100's place. Next is subtract. Let's see. I cannot do 2 minus 4, so I'm going to borrow. That becomes a 12. I'm going to borrow 1 from the 6, making him a 5. Okay. So now I have 12 minus 4, which is 8. 5 minus 4, which is 1. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, I'm going to cross that off because that 0 is going to confuse me. So I don't have anything else to bring down. Every spot on top is filled. And this number is smaller than my divisor. So what does that mean? Who can tell me what my answer is? What is my quotient?
6 with a remainder 18.
6 remainder 18. Sometimes you can have a big number as your remainder. Okay? Yes.
If you put that in, I don't think it's going to be right. So you might have to.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Let me write this down first. Remainder 18. Sometimes you can have a big remainder, and that's okay. So I know what Andre's talking about. Let's go back to that problem. Let me share my screen again. Give me a second. I wish this didn't take so long. Okay. So it says a woodworker spends a total of 162 hours making 24 birdhouses. He spends the same amount of time on each birdhouse. How many hours does he spend on each birdhouse? Okay. Now it doesn't give you a spot for remainders. So if I were you, I would just put 6 hours in there because there's no way unless you put 6R18. If it counts it wrong, I will count it right for you. Okay. So for that one, I would just put 6 hours because it doesn't give you a spot for remainders. Let's move on to number 2. I'm not going to do number 2 with you, but I'm going to read it for you and describe what you need to do. It says a truck driver drives 2,580 miles in 40 hours. That's a long way in a short period of time. He drives the same number of miles each hour. How many miles does he drive each hour? So who can unmute themselves and tell me how would you set your problem up? What would it look like for this problem?
2,580 would be in the house and 40 would be out of the house.
Very good. 2,580 miles. That's going to be inside the house, your dividend, and 40 would be outside. Then you just follow the steps for dividing by two-digit divisors. Okay. Number 3 is a multi-step problem, and we are going to do it together. Here we go. It says, understand the problem. What do you know? What do you need to find? Explain. Okay. So it says a DVD storage tower has 8 shelves. Each shelf can display 12 DVDs. How many storage towers does a worker need to display 1,440 DVDs? So this is a writing. You don't written.
Mr. Doc, can I ask a question?
You may if you raise your hand and wait quietly and patiently. So this is not a question where you're going to have an answer spot. You're actually going to have to write your process that you did it. So I'm going to do this problem with you, and then you are going to write the process that we took. So I really need you to pay attention. If you are one of those people who doesn't like to do the math with me, and I know who you are, don't think you're sneaky, now would be a good time to stop that habit and go ahead and do this problem with me, okay? So again, the problem I'm doing with you right now is not the answer. This is going to be how you explain your answer, how you got your answer, okay? So I'm definitely going to be drawing a picture with this. Let me see. It says a DVD storage tower has 8 shelves. Okay, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to draw one. I'm going to draw one storage tower. It's basically a tall bookshelf, okay? And I'm going to draw 8 shelves, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? Actually, that bottom one can count as one, so I'll do that. So there's 8 shelves. There's my storage tower with 8 shelves. Let me go back to the problem. It says each shelf can display 12 DVDs, okay? So this one can do 12, that one can do 12, 12, 12, 12. I hope you're paying attention because what I'm doing right now is what you're going to be writing in sentence form later. You're going to be saying, how did we solve this problem together, okay? So here I have my storage tower. I have 8 shelves. Each shelf has 12 DVDs on it. Now, the question says, how many storage towers does a worker need to display 1,440 DVDs or 1,440 DVDs, okay? So what do you think we need to do first before we figure that out?
We should do 8 times 12.
Very good. I need to figure out how many DVDs are in one of these shelves first. Because the question said, towers. It says, how many of these towers do I need for 1,440 DVDs? Okay.
Equals 90.
Before I do that, though, I need to figure out how many DVDs are here. And then I'm probably going to divide by that number to figure out how many of these one whole towers I need. So I have 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. Instead of counting by 12s or instead of adding, I'm just going to do 12 times 8. Okay. Now, this is a math fact. Some of you should know this, but for those who aren't good with your 12s, let's actually solve it with the algorithm. 8 times 2 is 16. Carry my 1. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. So 96. So this whole DVD case carries 96 DVDs. Okay? But the store has this many. So if one of these can carry 96 DVDs, then, excuse me, let me put this on there. If one of these towers can carry 96 DVDs, we need to figure out how many of these towers we need to carry that many DVDs. So I'm going to take my division house, and I'm going to write 96 as my divisor. I'm going to divide 1,440 DVDs by 96 DVDs, because that's going to tell me how many of these shelves that I need. How many, not shelves, how many of these towers that I need. Okay? All right. Let's start with D, M, S, B. Okay? So again, whenever you do your answer for this problem on number 3 of your Big Ideas math assignment, You're not writing this answer. This quotient is not what you're going to write. You're going to write the process. How did we get to the answer? Okay? So let's begin. Let's see. Lines. Need to write my lines to separate my place values. Okay. 96 cannot go into 1. I'm going to put an X. 96 cannot go into 14. It's too big, so I'm going to put an X. So we need to try 96 into 144. Yes, Andre, you may. So 96 into 144. Well, I know that 90 plus another 90 is 180 because 9 plus 9 is 18. So I know that 2 96s right away. That's going to be too many. Again, I said that 90 plus 90 is going to be 180. Okay? So that's going to be 2 96s is going to be way too many. So I can go ahead and write a 1 up here because I know that 96 can only go in there one time. Because 2 96s is going to be way too many. So that's division. Now I'm going to multiply. 96 times 1. Any number times 1 is that number. But be careful where you put this 96. I just wrote the 1 in the third column. So the 6, my 1's place, needs to be right here. Again, 96 times 1 is 96. Put a 6 in the 1's place and a 9 right here. So that when we get to subtraction, it's going to be 144 minus 96. And everything's going to be in the right place value. Okay? By the way, I'm sorry for my sloppy handwriting. I'm writing kind of sideways here. All right, so we need to subtract 144 minus 96. I'm definitely going to have to borrow here because 4 is too small for 6. So I'm going to have to turn that into a 14. And I'm going to borrow 1 from this 4, making him a 3. But I'm not done borrowing because, look, 3 is too small to subtract 9 from it. So I'm going to have to take that 3 and turn it into a 13. Make sure you circle it so you can see which numbers it's supposed to be. And I'm going to take 1 away from that 1, making him a 0. Okay? So I can do 14 minus 6 and 13 minus 9. Let's see what we get. 14 minus 6 is 8. 13 minus 9 is 4. 48. But that's not the number I'm dividing into because I have to do B. Bring down. I have to go to the next column, jump up, grab the 0, bring it all the way down. I have to try 96 into 480. Okay? So I'm going to erase this. No, I'm going to leave that up there, actually, because I'm going to go over that again. I'm going to try and find a spot down here to do this. We're going to have to do some multiplication to figure out how many times 96 can go into 480. Okay? So let's see. I'm going to keep it 96. Okay? Watch this. 96 is really close to 100. Okay? So it's 4 numbers away. So let's say that 96 is 100 for right now, since it's close to it. 480, we're going to say that that's close to 500. It's closer to 500 than it is to 400. So somebody tell me, you can unmute yourself, tell me how many times can 100 go into 500?
1 time.
More than 1 time.
1. 5.
5 times. Very good. 100 times 5 is 500. So if 100 can go into, it can go into 500 5 times. Look, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Okay? 100 can go into 500 5 times. So this number, which is close to 100, should be able to go into that number, which is close to 500, about 5 times. 5 might be too many, 5 might be too little. We're going to multiply and find out. Okay? So that was another estimation. That's why we learned that. So I'm going to try 96 times 5. If this is over 480, then I'm going to take a 96 away and try 96 times 4. Let's see. 5 times 6 is 30. Carry my 3. 5 times 9 is 45. Plus 3 is 48. Look at that number. So 96 can go into 480 exactly 5 times. Okay? Now when we multiply 96 times 5, I just did that down here. That's 480. Line it up nice and neat. Neater than mine. This problem looks terrible, actually. Subtract any number minus itself is 0. I don't have anything to bring down. Every spot on top is filled. I have no remainder. So my answer is 15. Okay? But that is not what you're going to write in your answer spot. Remember, it's to ask you about the process. So you need to say that first I figured out how many DVDs are in one tower. Then I divided the store's DVDs by how many DVDs were in that tower. And that's how I figured out that the store needs 15 towers to hold all the DVDs. Okay? So that's not technically a math problem that you have to answer with a math question or a quotient. That's technically a problem where you have to describe to me how you solve the problem, just so I know that you understand how to do the division. Okay? And there is one more like that in there, and I'm going to let you do that one by yourself. Okay? So let me share my screen again. I'm going to walk through every one of these problems. I'm not going to do them with you. I'm just going to show you exactly what you need to be doing with them. Okay? So let me present my tab again. All right. So we did number 1. We went over number 2. We just did number 3. Here's number 4. A factory packs boxes with glitter pens. One box can hold 36 glitter pens. The factory produces 5,982 glitter pens. The factory fills as many boxes as possible. How many glitter pens will not fit in the box? Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to divide 5,982 divided by 36, because that'll tell you how many boxes. But you will have a remainder. Now pay attention for this for number 4. Your quotient is not what you're going to put next to this box. The question says how many glitter pens will not fit in the box. So what number do you think you're going to put in there? Anybody? Not your answer, but your what?
Quotient? Remainder?
Remainder. The remainder. So you're going to get a remainder for this. That means that you're going to try and fit 5,982 glitter pens into divided by 36 to see how many boxes you can fill. You're going to try and fit all 5,982 of these into how many boxes. But it doesn't say how many boxes. It says how many glitter pens will not fit in the boxes. How many will be left over? So for number 4, your answer is actually going to be your remainder. Okay? Number 5, pretty simple. No word problem there. Just got to solve with the algorithm. Number 6, same thing. Solve with the algorithm. Let's take a look at number 7. A hot air balloon travels 2,016 miles in 96 hours. The balloon travels the same number of miles each hour. How many miles does the balloon travel in 1 hour? Very simple. No tricks here. All you got to do is divide 2,016 divided by 96. Okay? Number 8. Again, simple algorithm, just divide. And that's it. That's it for the math today. I will tell you that I am about to look on Dreambox to see who has and has not started towards meeting their goal. Today is Wednesday, so by the end of the day, you should have at least 3 done. Okay? So when I look at 3 o'clock today and I see that some of you still have 0, that's going to be an issue, and I might have to contact parents. Okay? So make sure you're doing that Dreambox for me. Okay? Let me stop my recording. Thank you, everybody. Go ahead and get to work. Make sure you remember that you can rewind this video as many times as you need to and pause it. And thank you. Okay.